has spent over 20 years, 20 and 20, working with founders, executives, and high performers on one problem that nobody else is solving. This is the gap between external success and internal chaos. I'm sure you listening know what I'm talking about. He works the full human system, the body, the breath, the nervous system, the emotion, the mind, and the identity, which is something that I've never heard before, all at once, because everything is connected. He calls it the real work. Matthew Coder, welcome to Still Building.
Anton, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm really grateful to be here.
It's so good to have you, man. I met you a couple of months ago in Santa Marta, and I was very much inspired in terms of the type of work that you do. At first, I couldn't understand it because when you were talking about it before you actually gave us the presentation, it was very unclear. Like it sounds great. It sounds like you're saying how the full human system, the body, breath, nervous system, emotion, mind, and then you also bring in the identity into it. And then you gave us a presentation, which we'll talk about today. But if you could just let our listeners know, what is the real work from a 30,000-foot view? What is that encompassing method that you talk about?
Yeah, to make the real work uh, digestible to your audience, I'd like to give you a story. I want to paint a scenario for you, and just so you can connect. So I want you to imagine you're married, right, Anton? So
I am,
let's
yes.
so let's imagine that you and your wife are going out for dinner, and you go to your favorite restaurant there. You're in Medellin still, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to your favorite restaurant in Medellin, and for whatever reason, on this night, as soon as you get into the restaurant, like the atmosphere is amazing. The wait staff is fantastic. They bring you to the table. You sit down, and the wait service is excellent. They just seem to bring you your water right away. You order your favorite dish, your wife orders her favorite dish, and as you're eating, for whatever reason on this night, when you take each bite, you know when you've taken a bite of food and it's good the moment it touches your tongue. And then even as you swallow the food, there's that like beautiful satisfaction as you feel it descend through the esophagus and hit the stomach. And it's like every bite is this pleasurable experience. And there's candles lit, and the music that's playing is calling you back through your life to these beautiful nostalgic moments that you're having. You're looking across the table and you're seeing your beautiful wife, and you're really taking in how beautiful she is, the gifts of who she is, and the conversation between you and her on this night, they're flowing. There's no obstruction. It's just effortless. You're finishing each other's sentences, your mind melting, your heart melting. And when you get done, they bring out, even as a surprise, they say, "Hey, sir, we see you in here, all the time. We just wanted to bring you our special dessert that our chef made exclusive for today, but we wanted to thank you, you and your wife." And they give you a wonderful dessert. And then as you're going home, all of the traffic on your way home just seems to not exist. It's just like it's effortless to get home. You hit every green light. And then when you get home, that energy of you and your wife is still there, and it carries into a moment of marital passion where together you feel so connected and so deep and so felt and so held. And then when your head finally hits the pillow, you fall asleep and you have the deepest sleep that you feel like you've had in years. When you wake up, it almost was like you were in a coma or something. Because you wake up, you feel so refreshed. Your body feels light in the morning, no pain. You get out of bed and you go out to get ready for your day as a founder. You know you've got a list of things to do, but as soon as you get ready for your day, your wife has written you a beautiful note saying, "Honey, thank you so much for everything that you do for your family. I have your meals prepared for you for today. I hope that you have a wonderful day and that God's protection is over you." And you're like, wow. So you go out, and as you're on your way to the office, you think to yourself, "Oh, wow, like I need to stop and get some snacks for today's meeting. I told the team I was going to pick up some things for our team meetup. We have a team meetup." So you pull into the local grocery store there in Medellin, and as you're pulling into the parking lot, you've got an upfront parking space that just opens up. You know when like a car's backing out and it's that first parking spot? And you're like, yes, right? You're like, yeah, okay. So you start to pull into that parking spot. You're moving towards it. And just as you're about to pull into that parking spot, somebody steals your spot. Now, don't do anything just yet. I just want you to think about how you might respond to that situation, that circumstance of somebody stealing your spot, having had that night, having had that night's rest, having had that morning. Just
Wow.
feel that in your body for a second. Like what, how would you respond to that moment? Just hold that in your imagination. And for the audience, just hold that. Put yourself in that scenario and just hold that in your imagination and feel that in your body, like what it would feel like. Now, we're going to go back and I want us to invert the whole scenario. You go to your favorite restaurant, you made a reservation. They didn't put your reservation down. So when you get there, there's a line. Not only a line, but a 60-minute wait. It's your favorite restaurant. You planned this night with your wife for a long time. But now you got to wait 60 minutes outside. And it's Medellin, so it's raining on this night. You know, that kind of Colombian jungle rain. And you guys got all dressed up in your best gear. So it's a little cold, a little wet, and you're standing around and you're getting hungrier and hungrier. And then when you go to sit down to eat, it's like the wait staff is so overloaded they can't even connect to you. So when you order your food, it takes forever to get your order in. They bring it back, it's not even the food you wanted. So you send it back. Now you're a little worried. I hope the chef doesn't spit in my food. Your wife, for whatever reason on this day, she's upset with you. You know, your husband, you've got to tend to her emotional needs, all these other things. She's upset. You're juggling the business, you're juggling the wife, and for whatever reason, when we carry heavy things, sometimes heavy things drop. And this is a day where the ball has dropped, and your wife is upset with you, and the wait staff isn't working. It's really loud. The music that they're playing, you ever be in a place where the music is like irritating to your soul? You're like, oh gosh, what are they playing? The music is irritating. You leave, you decided on this night to get an Uber, but the Uber takes like 20 or whatever they use there in Medellin. It takes forever to get to you. You drive there and the driver is very unpleasant. As soon as you get in the car, you can feel the energy coming off of his body. He's like irritated to even be doing what he's doing. And you go home, and now that unspoken tension between you and your wife that you've not been saying, but you've been feeling in the back of the car as you've been riding home in that awkward and painful silence between each other, all the while you're ruminating on whatever business problems that you have. You're cycling through what you might have done to your wife. Maybe you're pissed. Maybe you're pissed that she's pissed. And you get home and it erupts into an argument. And rather than resolving the argument, you go to one room, she goes to the other room, and you lay there at night just trying to go to sleep, knowing you got a big day tomorrow. You got a team meetup that you got to do, but you got a huge day tomorrow. And you've got all of this on your mind and you can't sleep. So it takes you hours to sleep. And let's say in this scenario, I don't know if you have any pets, but let's say you have some pets. And you just get to sleep and all of a sudden you hear your pet throwing up on your brand new wonderful suit jacket that you laid down on the floor in exhaustion because you'd had that night that you had. And so you burst out of bed to address your dog throwing up all over your brand new custom suit jacket that you had specially ordered from the best tailor in Medellin, so that when you show up to networking events, you look right, you're represented right, and that the quality you want your brand to have, the way you want people to receive you. Now all of a sudden your dog is just vomiting all over this thing that you've invested a lot of time and energy into. And so you clean it up and then you go to lay back down to go to sleep. And just when you feel like you're about to drift into sleep, your alarm goes off. Now when you wake up, you're exhausted. It feels like you're pulling yourself out of sludge. Your body's in pain, it's inflamed, your joints hurt, you're fuzzy in your mind. You go out, your wife's sitting on the couch, and she just has that. You're like, well, okay, well, bye, babe. I'm going to go to work. And she's like, okay, see you later. And you're like, oh, okay, now I got to go and you're driving to work and traffic is terrible. You're hitting every red light. You're running a little bit behind. And then all of a sudden you remember, oh, I got to go get, I can't even believe this. I forgot to get the snacks for the team meetup. So you pull back into that same grocery store, and there, a blessing, a parking spot up front is emerging. And you go to pull into that parking spot, and just as you go to pull into it, somebody steals the spot. Now, I want you to just reflect how you would respond to that moment of somebody stealing your parking spot on day 2 versus day 1.
Wow. I mean, furious is the word, but when you were talking about this, the first I wrote down dream, and second version I wrote down reality. Right? Don't ask me why, even though it sounded like hell, but for a lot of people, this is the reality of everyday chaos. It's insane. Wow. Okay. Obviously, I mean, the first, I would be a little bit upset, but I would just turn around and go find another spot. The second thing, I probably bash the guy's window and just be so upset about it.
Now, this is a parable to illustrate that circumstance is not the point of power for response. Circumstance is not the point of power for response, because you're capable of responding to the exact same circumstance with 2 different responses. Now, in the first scenario, you might just go get another parking spot, move on with your day. In the second scenario, if you get out and you bash in his window, you're now inviting new consequences into your life. Well, what happens if you come across a man who's a little bit crazier than you, and you get out and you bash in his car window, and he pulls out his pistol and he's like, okay, well, today you're going to find out. And you lose your life because of a stolen parking spot.
Wow. So those are 2 very drastic, quote unquote, sides of a coin, right? You have the side A and side B.
And the point of the contrast is for a person to try to feel and sense that I am capable of responding to the same circumstance with 2 different responses. So what's driving my responses? What's driving my choices? Is it the circumstance? Well, no, we've just proven that circumstance can be the same, but response can be different. So the root cause of response is state. So in the first one, we dropped you into a very, very, very good state. In the second one, we dropped you into a very bad internal state. So the first one, good state. Second one, bad state. So you've probably heard the phrase, perception is reality. Sadly, I believe that sentence needs to be completed. Perception, your perception is your reality. Your perception, what you perceive something to be, is Anton's reality. What Matthew perceives something to be is Matthew's reality. But state determines perception. In the first scenario, if I was in a really, really good state, a really, really pleasant state within myself, and somebody steals my parking spot, maybe I pray for them. Maybe I assume the best. Maybe I say, well, they must not have seen me pulling in, and maybe that guy's in a hurry too. And so I'm really grateful he got that parking spot. I'm just going to go find one back here. In the second scenario, I make an assumption. This guy clearly saw me. Dick. He's going to get a lesson today. I'm going to get out. I'm going to show him. Not around here. Not with Matthew. Not with Anton. Right? So response then invites consequence all the time. So if you are a person who believes in cause and effect, you're witnessing that through this parable. Now, as founders, we are tasked, as leaders, we are tasked with carrying the load of making decisions. We're paid mostly for our ability to see through the forest and make the highest leverage decision possible that is going to steer the best interest of our company, of our teams, of our families, of our children, of our community. We are decision makers. We are high stakes decision makers. So when decision is so dependent on our shoulders, we have to understand what either increases the probability for high outcome or decreases the probability for high outcome, or increases the high probability for a low outcome or decreases the probability for a low outcome. And since perception is not driven by circumstance, we've just illustrated that perception is driven by state of being. Now, what determines state? Because something creates state. The thing that creates state is conditioning. Another word for conditioning is formation. Another word for formation is training. Now, do you accept the reality that human beings live a lifespan from conception to natural death? We're all journeying from conception to natural death.
Yes.
Does that feel like a true reality for you?
Sure.
So from the time that you are conceived and the moment that your embryo, your physical body is being formed, starting out as your father's sperm cell, your mother's egg cell, the moment that sperm cell enters into the egg, a light bursts from the egg, and all of a sudden the process of your soul coming into this world starts unfolding in an automatic algorithm. But even inside of your mother's womb, your conditioning is already starting. You are beginning, do you share your mother's bloodstream when you're in the womb?
Yes.
So do you think that it's possible that whatever emotions your mother felt during pregnancy, the biochemistry of those emotions also flowed through your body?
Absolutely.
So that means you were already inheriting the emotional state of your mother. You can already hear that thin abdominal wall doesn't stop you from hearing what is going on in the outside world. No different than when you're in a pool as a kid and you can hear your friends playing on the surface. If you go underwater to get the little thing that we used to throw in the pool that would sink to the bottom of the pool, and you can hear all your friends, so the energies of the environment starting in the womb are already starting to condition our unconscious, subconscious, and conscious personalities. So our conditioning then is the very thing that starts to influence our state. Because even right now, everything that I'm saying to you has to pass into your system via your five senses. It has to, if we wanted to think of it in terms of a modern context, your physical body is like a gigantic server. And what do servers do? Hold memory. So you are always, through your five senses, ingesting huge quantities of memory. Now, if we use another analogy, how are large language models trained? So let's use Cloud, let's use Grok, let's use ChatGPT, and even Gemini. Why do they pump out different outputs? Why does ChatGPT give you different outputs than Grok? Why does Grok give you different outputs than Claude? Why does Claude give you different outputs than Gemini?
No clue. I guess what's being put into them?
That's right.
Yeah.
The data that they're trained on. So Grok is trained on Twitter's data. And they each are trained on data. And then they're coded with specific parameters for what they can pump out in the code, right? So your mind is like your own personal ChatGPT newsfeed for your soul. It is pumping out prompts as a consequence of the memory that you've ingested. But in addition to having this connection between your body and your mind, you have a central nervous system. And the central nervous system has a core function, which is to keep you alive. The most basic system in the system is to keep you alive at all costs and energy conservation. That's its function. Keep Anton alive. It's not keep Anton thriving. It's make sure Anton doesn't die. Because if you die, what happens? You move on to the afterlife. No more gameplay here on Earth. So it has a hard wiring, keep Anton alive. But when we're kids, we are in the middle of a rapid formation. We don't have as much information in us to discern what is dangerous from what isn't dangerous. We come into this world with inherent personality traits. Those personality traits are already being conditioned by the experience that we've had in the womb. And then our central nervous system exists in two predominant states for your audience. Just two. So you can always remember this. There's only two states that you either feel safe or you feel in danger. That's it. Now, to illustrate, going back to our parable of good state, bad state, in the first scenario, you would have felt very, very, very safe for an extended period of time. In the second scenario, you would have felt in danger for an extended period of time, because your central nervous system was kicked out of its state of safety, kicked into a state of danger. And once it's in that state of danger, we lose the vast majority of access to our knowledge, our wisdom, and the perception of our soul and the grace of our Creator. Because in that moment, with the way that the central nervous system is designed, it is designed to keep you alive. So let's give you another quick scenario. If we were walking through, when we walked up the mountains of the Medellin jungle, let's say, what happens if I think there's jaguars in that part of the world or something, right? Like, so what happens if all of a sudden a jaguar just happened to be stalking all of us carrying our rocks around? The moment that a jaguar were to attack you, you don't have time in that moment for you to go, I need to jump out of the way. So the way that your central nervous system functions is that once it kicks out of safety, and this is happening at faster than lightning speed, and these are automatic, not chosen by your conscious executive function, chosen by the body. These are automatic, unchosen internal shifts and responses that are happening as automatic as a motion sensor light outside of your house or as automatic as a garage door opener. You're not choosing it. The body is choosing for you. So I call this moment when the central nervous system ingests information that it has previously determined as dangerous. Because they'll show, there's experiments where they've taken little babies and they've put like big giant pythons in a room and had babies walk around with the pythons, and they're like, oh, puppy. You know, they just don't even care. They don't even care. And the reason they don't care is because they have no lived memory that the python is dangerous. But as soon as we start experiencing the brokenness of this world, the woundedness of this world, we begin to experience things that not only wound us physically, but wound us emotionally, wound us mentally. And those are recorded with perfect detail. Not only is the event in its state of neutrality recorded, but the meaning that you've ascribed to that event is recorded, and then the meaning that you've ascribed about yourself in relationship to that thing is recorded perfectly. Now, it's not like, so as we go on through life every day, piles and piles of new experiences are piling on into our server. So by the time you're our age, we have accumulated many things in our life that have wounded us. If you were to pull open every human being, if you could see the emotional body of a human being, all of us would look like a beat up lion on the savannah, a missing eye. We'd have big giant gashes. We would have broken limbs in that body. And we're all walking around on these broken bodies, broken hearts, broken minds. We're like a person driving a rusted out 1982 car that's brakes are seizing up, that doesn't have any oil, that has the muffler falling off, that has loose axles and we're trying to run that thing in third gear as hard as we can down the interstate. And that's what happens when you're living in this survival mode without even knowing it at an actual unconscious state, meaning you don't even know that it's happening. So these old wounds continuously kick us into the danger state. And the moment you've determined something is dangerous, your central nervous system brings you to a point that I call the narrowing of choice, where all of your available responses for how you could respond, go back to the scenario of the stolen spot. There, in those two scenarios, are those the only two responses that are available to us?
Absolutely not. Of course not.
Absolutely not, right? And so there is a version of response where you don't even get pissed off at the person in either scenario, irrespective of your state. That response exists as a potential and a possibility that you could choose. So why don't you choose it? Because you're not choosing it. Because your memory system and your conditioning and the fact that your central nervous system is existing in such a dominant state of survival, you're having decisions being chosen for you, because as soon as your central nervous system hits that narrowing of choice, it gears up the body and it pushes huge quantities of energy that forces you into a narrowing of choice, where you believe this is the only decision that I can make in order to survive this situation and to return to safety. This is the only decision that I can make in order to survive this situation and return to safety. And not only is this the only choice that I need to make, but this choice needs to happen so fast it might as well have needed to happen yesterday. That's that urge of response, that sense of tension and urgency that you feel inside of you is your central nervous system saying, act, 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 which is connected to, well, if a lion were to jump out at you, you can't wait to assess what's the best way to get out of the lion situation. Your body's just trying to get you to not die. So once that narrowing of choice kicks in, our body runs through a prescribed algorithm, and it goes in this fashion. So the first algorithm that it runs is the fight algorithm, our central nervous system in our body. And if the fight algorithm had a voice, it would say, I believe I can dominate this situation in order to survive or to return to safety. Therefore, I should dominate this situation in order to survive or feel safe. So that shows up as aggression. It shows up as control. It shows up as that feeling to fight against, to dominate over. Now, once your central nervous system, you are not doing this, Anton. We have to keep this. You don't even realize that this is on. Once your central nervous system at faster than lightning speed has determined it can't dominate a situation, it shifts to the next algorithmic pattern, which is the flight algorithm, which if it had a voice, if you could articulate its voice and its belief, it would say, I believe that my only way to survive this situation and to return to safety is to run away. And that shows up as avoidance, as a procrastination. That shows up as shutting down. That shows up as withdrawing inward. That shows up as postponing. All of those moments, that's that flight algorithm kicking in. Now, once your system has run through, it's processed both of those softwares, those algorithms, if it determines I can neither dominate it to return to safety and to survive, and I cannot run from it in order to find safety or survive, you run the third algorithm, which is freeze. Like if you've ever seen a deer in the headlight. Now the freeze algorithm says, I can't dominate it in order to survive. I can't run from it in order to survive. Doom is inevitable. Prepare for impact. And so you freeze. Boom. Now, I don't know about you, but as leaders, we're often faced with truly high stakes, high pressure situations. And there are moments where we cannot freeze, but we freeze. There are moments when we cannot run away, nor should we, because it is the incorrect response to get the best possible outcome, but we run away. There are moments where we're in a decision and we try to dominate it, but that is the wrong response. Therefore, whenever we are in a dysregulated state of nervous system, the first thing I teach all of my clients is to implement a rule. Never, ever, ever, ever make lasting decisions. Never speak words. Don't even interpret a situation from a dysregulated state, because you are not going to interpret that situation clearly, and you're not going to see it fully, and you're likely going to choose the worst possible pathway forward. And as a consequence, if you make a decision from a dysregulated state, which you will, because in our human nature, we're imperfect, this will happen. You just have to accept degraded results.
So in other words, how they say, do not make any decisions when you're angry, when you're emotional. Is that what you're referring to?
Absolutely. Because when you're angry or you're emotional, do you feel safe?
No, absolutely not.
That means you feel in danger. That means you're operating in the danger side of the central nervous system. Now, as soon as you enter into the danger side of the central nervous system, you're not thinking altruistically. You lose your ability to empathize. You lose your ability to sympathize. To sympathize is a Greek word that means to suffer with. And it's important in leadership, especially, that you have the ability to actually understand the psychological and emotional state of those that you lead, because we are tasked with being the source of stability for our organization. Now, many businesses fail because at the top, the founder is unstable. Mm-hmm. And that cascades through the organization. Now, there are two modes of leadership. You can lead from fear, like Commodus from Gladiator, or you can lead by being the standard and by leading from love, like Maximus. Now, when it came time in that movie, The Gladiator, when the army had to choose between Commodus and Maximus, Commodus the emperor, the emperor of Rome, or the general of the armies, who did they choose? They chose the general. And why? Because the general was the standard. The general, who he was in relationship within himself and how he loved his people, inspired love and loyalty in those he led. They were afraid of Commodus, so they followed orders out of fear. So if you lead from, and why was Commodus always afraid? Because he constantly felt in danger that somebody was going to take away his power. He wanted to be emperor. He wanted to be in power. That was his reasons. Maximus didn't want to lead. He felt like it was his duty to lead because he could carry his men forward through love, through his standard, through how he role modeled. So my work is about reprogramming those unconscious automatic responses and then building you in such a way that you are far less likely to be triggered into those states of danger. And when you are, you know exactly what to do to them, what to do with them, how to handle them. So that opens up your decision capacity to where maybe you would fold under pressure. So once you experience a moment in your life where the pressure has increased enough, the moment you slip into that danger moment, your central nervous system is collapsing under that pressure. And it's kicking out of its felt sense of safety, and it's kicking into danger. And you just tell me for yourself and for the audience listening, when you've made the best decisions of your life, truly, when you've had your best performances, did you do it when you felt in danger and when you felt angry or emotional? Or did you do it when you felt safe and excited and free and open?
Safe and excited and free and open. But let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, before we move on, because this is definitely hitting home, and I'm sure most of our listeners are entrepreneurs, somebody who's building businesses, and I'm sure you own your own business, and it's all glamorous on the outside. Revenue's coming in, the Instagram success porn, as I like to call it, is out there. Everything's going well, but then on the inside, you're putting out dumpster fires. Everything is going wrong. No matter how much money you make, this chaos is always there,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, yesterday I had an experience where I was dealing with an issue, and I responded emotionally, and now this morning I'm like, why did I even go there? But it's so hard, and I'm sure you know this, and anybody who's ran a successful business, I'm not talking about a one-entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur, anybody who's run a business knows how much shit they have to eat every single day.
Yes. Yes. All the shit flows upstream, and it will never end. That is the nature of the job.
Thank you. So
It will.
that's where I was going. I don't think it will ever end. So talk to me about how you, specifically working with thousands of top performers and founders, how do you lead them, to the water, you said training, conditioning, training. Obviously, this is something that you have to always be working on.
Yep.
Um,
Well, if you've been trained into this state, so it's important to recognize that the way in which you feel about your life, you were habituated into.
can you explain? I'm sorry. Can you explain?
So, and let's use the scenario that we've been painting. So we
Hmm.
know that you can respond to a situation with an infinite variety of responses. But without realizing it, you've been unconsciously choosing a mode of internal response. So if you habituate yourself into responding to situations with anger, then that is the pathway you'll drive to automatically. So you've been habituated into responses. And in order to get you out of those responses, we have to habituate you out of them. And that involves a certain type of training. So the first thing that I do with a person whenever they come in with me is I audit them and their life. I get to know everything about them. I have to. There's no way, because I have to figure out how you were conditioned, how you were formed, what you've done, what you've not done, what you've said, what you failed to say. All of these other things, what you've chosen, what you've not chosen, how you're living your life, what food you're eating, what you're drinking, who you're hanging out with. All of these things. What happened to you in 7th grade? What happened to you in 5th grade? Because all of those things are alive within you. There are no versions of you that are not currently alive within you now. Sure, you're adult Anton, but 6-year-old Anton is as alive in you now as he was at 6. 8-year-old Anton is alive within you now. 16-year-old Anton, 24-year-old Anton. So you have, and I still have, I have wounds from my past that are even presently creating ceilings in my life, because as we're going through life, we're making determinations about ourselves. That's what I mean about identity. Who you are, what you believe about yourself. Now, a lot of people present an image to the world as a survival mechanism, but underneath, maybe deep down, they feel like, I don't really matter. But if I get the Lamborghini, that's going to fill up this hole in my heart. I'm not really enough, but if I get the 9 or the 10 out of 10 woman that all my friends Google and goggle over when I go to the networking parties, and I can be like, look what I got, look at my car, look at my money, look at my Patek Philippe watch, look at my Gator shoes, I'm a millionaire. And yet, when you go home and you sit in that car and you're like, I gotta fucking get this thing oil changes all the time. This, what, 30 grand for fucking brakes? This is what I thought this was gonna be? Worrying about somebody door dinging this fucking thing every time I go to the grocery store? Or even the beautiful woman. Sure, she's beautiful on the outside, but what if she doesn't really love you for you? I mean, and you don't really know that. You don't really know. Does she love me for me, or does she just love me because I'm like an ATM for her and what I provide for her? And you don't know. So you built a life, a mirage life. You know.
Sorry,
You know, but you're trying to tell yourself you don't know. So a lot of my work is about getting people to face the realities that they already know, but they don't know what to do with. So we have to do that audit. The next thing that I have to do is I have to just immediately get you into your body, and I have to habituate you out of your danger zone.
Can I ask a question before we get to the actual what is it that you do? I really want to, because you worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and high performers in general. What would, is there something that you constantly see over and over and over and over again in, high performance individuals, and our listeners are that or looking to become that they do not see in themselves, or they say, no, this isn't the actual problem? What is that one thing that you see pretty much across the board?
Well, the one thing I see across the board is total neglect of the self internally. They're habituated into emotional avoidance, and they have convinced themselves that they're stronger than they are. And they're very filled with pride and ego to the extent that they become very poor followers. And they're not, and their money gets them a get out of jail free card a lot. They don't like, if they don't, they got people that maybe don't really push back on them ever. And if they do, they just fire them, right? They become very piss poor at receiving criticism, at exploring a way in which they could improve their mental emotional state. They get locked in a cycle, and it's not their fault. This is totally innocent. It's truly not their fault. They were just a boy or a girl with a dream, and then all of a sudden all of these loads and responsibilities get put on, and they were being put on an already broken system, because there are no people that do not experience heartbreak through their childhood. Now, unless you heal the wounds of the previous seasons of your life and return to some semblance of wholeness, you're continuously carrying load on a broken foundation. And that foundation is the foundation of your heart and your mind. And that memory, because now this is the thing that most people who, and even if you're familiar with this work, so some people might be saying, well, I've been doing some inner work and that stuff. And digesting your emotion, metabolizing your emotion, metabolizing the way you thought about the world. I'm using that word specifically, metabolization and digestion, because I want it to connect to how when you consume food, your body takes it, strips away all that is good, builds you up with the things that are good, and then it's trying to flush out the waste. The things that it didn't need, right? But in life, our Creator is after the formation of our heart. You don't get to take your Lambo with you when you die. You don't get to take, when Charlie Munger passed away, all of his money got pushed right back into the game board. You don't own any of the land that you have. Everything that you have is on rent. And the only thing that you own is the content of your heart and your mind, and the intensity in which you are capable of truly receiving and feeling life's divine mystery and its magic and its majesty. Who you become. The old cliche, it's not the destination, it's the journey, but it's a cliche for a reason. So I see that all the time. And they don't realize, they have no idea that they're existing continuously in this chronic state of fight or flight, that they have too much load on their plate. They feel constantly in danger, and they can't return to a felt sense of safety. They try to fill up that hole in their heart with women, with drugs, with cars, with more success, with more money. And it is an endless hamster wheel that never ends. And you never feel fulfilled. You never feel whole. You never feel intimate with anyone. There's a gigantic granite, cold wall around your heart. And so barely anybody even really knows the true you. So you walk around feeling completely disconnected while feeling surrounded by endless people. Never really getting to go, wow, look at this beautiful team around me. And truly appreciate, and I don't mean up here, I mean in here, in the body. Appreciate and feel the abundance in your life, which is why when you got a yacht, you see somebody with a bigger yacht, and you're like, oh God, gotta go work harder. Man, maybe if we do $1.2 million in ad spend and we start to get this team, we're going to hire this person to build out this AI platform. And as soon as I'm on that yacht and I'm that person's friend, that's going to do it. That's going to be the thing that finally makes me feel what I've been craving. But we miss the fact that everything that we're trying to feed to nourish us is not nourishing us. Not completely. There's nothing wrong with wealth. Wealth is great. It's a great power, especially if you have a heart of love and a heart of charity and a heart of generosity and a heart of wisdom. Because now that wealth doesn't just serve you, you start seeing it's, for these guys and gals on here that maybe have 100 people teams, 150 people teams, and you're paying for those people's mortgages. The thing you created is putting food in children's mouths. You're sending people on vacations from your imagination and your ideas. And yet you can't feel the magic of that anymore because the loads have surpassed your ability to hold. And you're stuck in mental, emotional danger. And you don't know how to turn it off. And you don't know how to turn it off because nobody educated you on how to turn it off because nobody really knows how to turn it off. And it's not a popularly sold product. Like you tell me, if I could tell you that I could make you truly lastingly joyful, genuinely, and I mean you could feel something in yourself that you didn't even know was possible, but it was going to be painful to get there, but it would be 100% worth it. And you would come off medications and you would have a body that felt so good you forgot that you were wearing it. And you would respond to situations in a way that you couldn't even believe. And you would have a connection to your creator that you didn't even know that you could have. And you would actually be able to look at a sunrise, which has always been there, and feel it in a way that you hadn't felt it in decades. All the while you have the money, you have the job, you have the marriage. That is life and life abundantly. Or I could say, but you're in pain right now, so here's some Molly. Here's a little cocaine, here's a little alcohol. Most people they want the quick path. We've been habituated into speed. Everything now is speed. Amazon, speed, right? I want it now. I want my revenue now. I want to be a millionaire right now. I don't want to have to do the work to build this thing for 3 years to figure out who I need to be, or 5 years or 10 years, or depending upon the product that you're in, to have to, because that's work, that's effort. And in order to create, you have to give energy. And most people are crippled energetically because they've been living in danger zone. They can't even access their full potential because they're running like a car that's stuck in second gear. They're energetically depleted. They don't have any energy. You have to have energy to give. We have to renew your strength every day. You have to persevere through all your life. My solution is not a 90 days to a six-pack shit. I'm all for you. I think having a body you enjoy being in is great. Of course, we all want to look good when we take our clothes off. That's an element of it. But what's the point of a six-pack or a big chest if your digestive organs are failing? If you have a pancreas problem or or if your health and functionality isn't there? Or what if you look great on the surface, but you're rotten on the inside? What does it even matter? It doesn't matter. So I want my people to be able to experience both worlds. And I haven't worked with just high performers. I've gotten heroin addicts off of heroin, and they now hold sustainable jobs. They're living healthy lifestyles. They're living lives of continual growth. They're surrounding themselves with positive people, and their family has their loved one back. Now you tell me, if you were to die, Anton, do you think your kids and your wife are going to go, I sure wish Anton had made another 10 to 15 million dollars before he died. My dad really should have did that.
Of course not.
No, they don't give a shit about your business. They might appreciate everything that you provide, that you help them to live, the access that you give them to teachers and to food and to education and to experiences. But more than anything, they want you. They want your presence. They want your connection. They want your intimacy. And your team actually wants it too. They're craving it. None of us as human beings are not craving intimacy. We're just so terrified to do it because we've all been wounded by the guy we got into business with who skimmed $100,000 off the top. Or we dated a person who presented love to us while was sleeping with someone else. We've all had these experiences. These wounds are in all of our hearts, and we're carrying around that pain, not consciously all the time, but it's there. And it's not just there in our memory system, it's there biochemically in your flesh. I'll give you an example. Why do you marinate chicken?
I mean, I'm not a cook, but I think it's to make it taste better.
Because if you soak it in your marinade, the marinade soaks into the flesh.
So
That's
it
how
tastes
it,
better.
so it, right? Okay, so every time you experience an emotion, your body trips a process to your endocrine system and your emotional system to flood your bloodstream with the biochemistry that is the fingerprint of that emotion. An emotion has a life cycle in the body. It's a 90-second life cycle. So you take in caffeine. Why do you drink caffeine? You take in a chemical, it influences the body increases your energy, and so you're ingesting a chemical to change your state. See how I keep coming back to state? So every time you experience an emotion, you experience a biochemistry. If you experience emotions for longer than 90 seconds, it's because your mind is locked in a state of disobedience to your soul, and you're being enslaved to a mind of rumination, to a diseased mind, an unstable mind and heart, a broken mind and heart, a wounded mind and heart, an injured mind and heart. And nobody should feel any shame or any guilt about any of this, because we have all been wounded in this world. We are all broken people. We are all wounded people. We are all imperfect. We are all imperfect. So there should be no shame or no guilt about any of this. And we have to remove that, because there is no way to resolve a problem without first saying there's a problem.
I love that. If you don't mind, I would love to have our listeners experience a little piece of what it is that you're talking about, because I mean, you made some very
bold
interesting
claim.
points. You made it clean.
Put it to the test. Sorry.
Let's put it to the test. So 5 minutes, if you're driving, if you're working out, if you're doing anything, just stop. And I would love to have Matthew, if you don't mind, walking us. Don't teach us, actually guide us to what we need to do. We are going to be posting this on YouTube. So if you want to go ahead and check this out on YouTube and see actually what Matthew is doing, go ahead and check us out there. But whenever you're ready, the floor is yours. Just guide us through this next 5 minutes.
I'm going to set the context so that the interpretation and the application can make more sense. So none of this is about what you know consciously. I'm going to be addressing your unconscious. That means you don't even know that it's there. So don't worry about it if you don't get any of this stuff. Maybe even already this conversation might have already triggered you. You might have been pissed about a lot of the things that I've said. Things that I've said has maybe triggered you to be afraid. Maybe you've frozen a couple of times in this conversation, and I want you to know that that is totally okay. That's a natural part of what your central nervous system is designed to do, but it's been habituated into a certain state. So the first thing that I need to do is give you a glimpse, at least a glimpse, as to what regulating your nervous system, so how to kick your nervous system out of that state of danger and start to move you back to that state of safety. Now, I'm going to contextualize this as well. The deeper the training, I have actual real training systems where we engineer your body and your breathing and your attention to make this stronger and more longer lasting and more and to update and upgrade your personality to where you have new responses to stressful situations that are automatic. You don't even need to think about it. So I want you to imagine going to the stolen parking lot situation, but it gets stolen and you literally does not bother you at all. You just go to the next spot. You feel nothing, no perturbed. Oh, okay, go to the next spot. And it's automatic and unchosen. So I'm going to contextualize again. The responses of your central nervous system are not you choosing them in time. So you cannot control them because you don't know how to. And you don't have the right training or education on what to do with it. It's not your fault. I need to make that very, very clear. These are automatic, unchosen physiological shifts that will show up in your body moments before a response happens. So, you know, when you said, I responded to something yesterday, and then after the fact, I was like, oh, I really wish I wouldn't have responded to that. I want you to go back just for a second to right before that moment. You would have noticed that your body would have went through a shift. Maybe you started to sweat. Maybe your temperature changed. Maybe you got hot. Maybe you got cold. Maybe you held your breath. Maybe certain sections of your body contracted or tightened. And then an energy, a sense of urgency arose in your system that was driving you to a choice, to a response. And these were automatic and unchosen, as automatic as if you were to walk through the field of a motion sensor light, the motion sensor light turns on. You're not choosing to turn it on, it turns on. So yesterday you had an event that whatever that event was, it turned on an automatic physiological shift in your body that then began to influence the way that you thought and the way that you felt and was driving what you were going to choose. So to make this succeed, if you are driving, anybody who's driving, go back, watch this later. But I need you to be totally open to this. You have to go full out. You can't, this is a place to go, okay, I've tried everything. I'm going to try something for real in a new way. It might feel awkward, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to fail at this, right? So all I need you to do is just really try, okay? But I'm going to show you how we can start to shift your nervous system. So go ahead and stand up. Wherever you are, stand up. First thing I want you to do is just go ahead, and I need you to put your awareness in your feet. Wherever you are, put your awareness in your feet, and if you have to, touch your legs, touch your body, so that you can, and make that conscious connection of your body. So you feel your body. Okay, now I want you to take a second and just notice how you feel. Okay, just observe and just go, okay, how do I feel? Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to stretch your face real wide like a lion stretching on the savannah. Like that. Now, I want you to take a big breath in, and I want you to go, ah. Now, you didn't make the sound. Did you see that? Make the sound. Go, ah. It has to be loud, fully released. Yeah, better. You see how you released. Okay, now do this with me. I call this the boxer's bounce. Okay, now shake out your face. Make the noise. There you go. Now go. Yeah, see now. You feel that little laugh as your nervous system feeling a little afraid. So just go ahead and go. Yeah, go. Go. Good. Now find a wall wherever you are. Put your hand on that wall. Turn it backwards 90 degrees. It's very important. Now lift your chest as big as you can. Look up. Okay, now we're going to do big breaths. Oh, yep, yes. I want more releasing, Anton. It's not releasing enough. Bigger breath. Oh. Extend it, yeah. Two more. Keep lifting the chest. Lift it. One more. Okay, now release it. Boxer's bounce again. Shake your face. More breath. You're holding back. Release from your chest. You know how the kids say it with your chest. Okay, now do the left arm. So place the left arm from the side, turn it back 90 degrees, lift your chest. Okay, now big breaths. Let it be free. Make weird noises. Shake your face. There you go, Anton. That's it, big dog. Big breath. Excellent. Okay, boxers bounce. Good, 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 good. Now do 10 air squats. Good. Close your arms like this. Twist. Close your eyes. Do big breaths. You don't have to know why it's working or why the order. Just focus on doing what I'm asking. Big breath. Excellent. Release. Boxers bounce. Good. Free your hands, elbow. This way. This way. This way. Good. 5 push-ups. Let the bullets out. Good. Stand up. Boxers bounce. Shake out the head. Stretch your face. Stick out your tongue. Good. Now stretch as wide as you can. Lift up wide. Widen up your feet. Look up. And breathe real big. Stretch your fingers. Feel your feet against the ground. 2 more. Good. Now step in the center. Put your hands next to your eyes. Look straight forward, but notice your peripheral vision. Okay. Now go underneath here and notice your peripheral vision. So your eyes are locked forward. You just see your hands in your periphery. Look at me, Anton. So go from the side and come down to the bottom. So your eyes are locked forward. And you're moving your hands like this to see them in motion in your periphery. Good. Now go above your head and see your hands up there. Okay, now with your eyes locked, pay attention to your peripheral field while you feel your feet against the ground. Release your hands. Now with every big breath, let your body feel heavy like a wet sleeping bag. But find where your breath is really even with that. Two more. Okay, now just call the situation. Now reopen. There's a little buzzing in the. Okay, now really fast. How do you feel? In as many languages, how do you feel?
Hold on 1 second. I gotta reassociate myself here. Feel lighter.
Now you're noticing the shifts inside. Do you feel more still? Do you feel
calmer?
Do you feel more relaxed?
I do.
These are symptoms of safety. Do you feel more open?
I do.
Safety has symptoms. Danger has symptoms. Imagine the same scenario from yesterday, but if you could have taken 5 minutes before you responded and did exactly what I asked you to do, and then you sat down and you went, okay, what's the best way that I could handle this so that it's win-win?
It would have been a completely different response after this exercise, for sure. I mean, even now, I feel so much lighter from just even thinking about that decision. When we were talking about this situation just about 5 minutes ago, I was still a little bit, even though not as much as yesterday, but a little bit affected by it. But after this exercise, now you're saying, I don't feel any effect of it. To be honest.
Now, I didn't give you a pill. I didn't say, hey, Anton, you know what? You've got an anxiety disorder. And so I think we need to put you on some Xanax. There is no side effect, negative side effect to the way that I can train you and what I can teach you. There is only pros. There are no cons. But it is a training, and it requires a willingness to experience delayed gratification. It requires some discipline. This is only a snapshot. This is just what I like to call a micro practice. There are more systematized processes that I would need to take you through to make this more lasting. We have to excavate your heart and your mind, and we have to digest finally all of the undigested emotion that you have not digested from the previous seasons of your life, that you have not digested and processed. The reason these reactions are happening is because you're carrying around inside of your heart, in your mind, in your unconscious personality, the wounds of the past. They are as alive today as they were then. And so, what happens when somebody brushes up against a wound? What do you do? What's your natural response? If you've got a broken arm, somebody hits it, what do you do?
I mean, it's a negative reaction.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right? Ah. The issue is, and as men, we are tasked with being strong. So we are afraid of admitting that we're broken. We are terrified of admitting that we have moments of weakness. We are terrified to admit that there are loads that we don't know how to carry, so we just bite down on our mouthpiece or we run from it. And all these things end up showing up as alcoholism, habitual uses of substance, failed relationships, mistresses or misters, pool boys, and whatever. All of those are symptoms of a broken heart that needs healing. So the gap between having your wealth and feeling your health exists through the mansion of your heart. And I promise you, and I'm not saying this to frighten anyone, because you do have to honor. My work is for anybody who is truly fed up with how they've been living, and they mean it. It's sincere. It's not. That's why I'm underground right now. That's why I'm all this stuff, because this isn't Pizza Hut. You can't just call in and go, oh, I'd like this type of a massage. You have to become obedient in order for this to work, which the only way for you to do that is for you to throw up your hands in a Hail Mary situation and go, I don't really know what to do. Please help me. And then at that time, I can go, great, we're going to show you everything, but I need you to listen. And founders struggle very hard with pride and ego. So sadly, most of them need to come to a point where basically the ship is sinking and burning down completely before they'll ever admit, I don't know what to do and I really need help. Or they'll go to a doctor, a medical professional, and I'm not saying those places don't have their place, right? But when you consume a chemical to alter your mood, you're creating a chemical dependency, which is no different than if I put an ankle brace around a strong ankle. Because my metabolism and my immune system have a baseline function of energy conservation, if I stabilize my ankle or my wrist from the outside, eventually my metabolism and immune system will cannibalize the strength of my tendons and weaken the wrist, because it will say, I do not need to support this area, so I'm going to stop putting energy there. I'm going to take that energy and move it into other areas or into conservation. The same thing happens with the brain and the neural connections in the mind. Now, the mind has its own neural networking, but so does the heart. The heart has its own neural network. And the whole system is producing a biofield, which is why we can feel each other. So I would say most human beings are missing the proper education. They never got a driver's ed, myself included. The reason I've been obsessed with this stuff is because I grew up in a situation where there was a lot of brokenness. There was a lot of brokenness. And I have felt the real results of living in communities with extreme levels of unaddressed brokenness and the pain that it causes, the horror that it causes, the tragedy that it causes. And all of that stuff will continue from one generation to the next until somebody says, I'll pay the bill. I'll pay the bill. And I tell you what, there's no greater feeling in the world than to love something so much that you'd be willing to sacrifice yourself for it. And we say all the time as founders, as leaders, I love my family so much I would die for them, right? Maybe you've said that. I would give my life for my family. Okay, challenge accepted. Will you live for them? You say you will die for them. Will you stop drinking for them? Will you exercise for them? Will you eat right for them? Because I'm telling you, with the biological system, once one system collapses, they all collapse rapidly. And you might go, oh, it's just a couple of beers. It's poison. Poison your liver even more, 3-4 times a month for 10 years. See what happens in 10 years. Poison your mind with wrong content, wrong people. Keep your heart rotting because you've never given yourself the gift to finally hold the one person who always needed help, which was little Anton. He still needs you. He's alive in you right now. And the more you can learn and train yourself to see all the previous versions of yourself, to digest the emotion, to extract the wisdom and the knowledge out of those things, your leadership is going to accelerate at a rate that you couldn't imagine. Your level of fulfillment is going to reach levels you didn't even know were possible. Your access to creativity is going to open up in a way that you couldn't even dream of. And the connection, the things that truly matter, the love that you have for your family, and then your ability to meet their needs when unexpected tragedy arises. Because every person that will ever watch this podcast knows it's not a matter of if life is going to throw you something really hard. No, it's coming. It's coming. But these moments don't come to stay, they come to pass. But how we are within ourselves when those high pressure moments arises determines in part what comes next. So the real work is about facing the reality of your inner world and what I believe to be the true reality of what it takes to build a business, practically everything, marketing, sales, customer acquisition, listening to the customers, product development, client retention, client ascension, all that stuff's a part of it. Leading your team. You have to be able to hold all that stuff, understand all that strategy. And to live is to change. I'm quoting a saint. To live is to change, and to be perfect is to change frequently. That experience, we all deserve it. Our Creator did not create us to condemn the world. He created us to give us life and life abundantly. Truly, I say to you, you are a son and a daughter of a love that is more greater, more merciful, more compassionate, more understanding, more knows you better than you know you, and it's seeking a relationship with you, and it wants something for you. You have a place here. You have a purpose here that only you can deliver. Only you, Anton. You have a song in your heart. You have a beat. You have something that is only you. I believe in that magic. I believe in you. And when you give yourself the gift of doing this type of work, and you don't have to choose me, and you do have to honor the part of yourself that might not be ready. That's okay. Again, this is really about readiness. When you're ready, I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to turn around and face the dragon. Sometimes we're not ready, and that's totally okay. There's no shame in that. There should be no guilt in that. Sometimes you're not ready to stand on the thing that once hurt you or turn around and face it. It's understandable. But the only way out is through. And so when you're ready, and when that readiness is sincere and you mean it from your heart, whether it's me or somebody, the Creator will present solutions to you, and then you'll have a choice. Do I choose to take it, or do I choose to wait a little longer? The trouble is you might wait too long, and then when death comes, it doesn't turn off. It's a process, and it's permanent. Once it's there, and the biggest regret of the dying is that they didn't live a life that was true to them.
Always trying to satisfy other opinions of yourself rather than your own. Matthew, I just want to say thank you. I think that many people, if you've listened to this and haven't done the exercise, do the exercise, because it will definitely give you another perspective of what this is all about. If I could ask you, for those listeners that are just getting their feet wet with all of this, I saw your presentation. We talked about this offline, how you took two very completely different individuals during our retreat in Santa Marta where I met you, and you put them through this experience that you just put me into briefly. You did it much more extensively there. So I saw it for myself, and that's why I do believe it and trust it, and think that this is definitely something that helps a lot of individuals. I salute you for doing what it is that you're doing. The work is important, but for those of us, and for those of the listeners that are just getting their feet wet, quote unquote, our skepticism is always there. If you could give them one 60-second habit or exercise, more of like 30 to 60 seconds, that they can integrate into their morning, right? Like Miracle Morning, a lot of us wake up, we do the meditation, we do the reading, we do the journaling. From your perspective, what is one of the most important things that you can start your morning with based on your practice? Just a very, very small step if somebody's still skeptical about doing what we just did live.
As soon as you become consciously aware that you are awake, you know how like sometimes like you wake up, your eyes are still shut, right? You've woken up, but your eyes are still shut. Start breathing deeply right away. And then even if it doesn't feel as congruent, start listing things that you're truly thankful for. And see if you can just be truly thankful that you woke up again. That no matter what the day is going to present to you that day, it's a gift that you woke up again. Because one day you will not wake up here anymore. But the greatest ally for you in regulation is going to be I would challenge everybody. You be skeptical. In fact, I beg you, prove me wrong. Try it. Try it. Come on, please. I dare you. Disprove me. Make me wrong. Prove to me that my system isn't interwoven. Prove to me that I'm not wounded and this is why I'm experiencing these danger signals all the time. Prove to me that there's another solution besides that involves avoiding my heart and avoiding my mind. Prove it to me. But I will encourage you, if you want to know how true this is, start to watch your own reactions. So I call this a little noticing practice. And all you have to do is whenever you've reacted in a way that you didn't like, and you can catch it either seconds after, hours after, days after, doesn't matter. You can't fail at this. But whenever you've reacted in a way that you didn't like, I call this reviewing game film. Go back and review the game film and go, was there an automatic, unchosen shift in my physiology that occurred before I even could consciously register what was happening and what I was thinking, and before I reacted? And some symptoms to look for would be, did my temperature change? Did I get hot or cold? Did my heart rate start to accelerate? Did I start to sweat in some part of my body, like the pits of the arms, the insides of the thigh? Did I tighten? Did my facial expression change? Did I clench my shoulders? Did I clench my fist? And just start to see if you can catch those automatic, unchosen shifts and just see how much those shifts are choosing for you. Just see how much they're choosing for you. If you want a quick way out of it, go back to the rule that I said at the beginning of this. If you want to try to slow down the damage you do in your life, because there's a way of increasing life's revenue and then there's a way of decreasing cost. So if you want to decrease the cost of your decisions and slow down the damage, then implement my rule. Don't try to analyze a fight with your wife while you're still dysregulated. If you catch yourself in a fight with your wife and you see that you're in a combative state, say, sweetheart, I'm not really in a place to talk about this right now. I do want to talk about it with you. I'm going to take a few minutes, go into the room, and do some variation of what I just did. The best thing to do, the reason I'm asking you to get into your body is because you have to digest the emotion through the body. If the body has a tendency to tighten when you're in danger, what should you do? Release it. If you have a tendency, and you will, to hold your breath when you're in danger, and why would you do that? You're bracing to fight something, you're bracing to run from something, or you're bracing for impact. It's all about bracing. Danger is a brace. I'm either bracing to just, I'm bracing, or I'm bracing to run. We gotta go, bro. We gotta book it. Or I'm bracing because, right? Those things are happening. And so then we're kicking that danger system out. Go do the opposite of all that tension. If you hold in your vocal tone, you're like a person who's ate food but refuses to go number 2. So what happens if you eat a bunch of food but you refuse to go number 2? You got to get that energy out. So you notice that once we did that, all that energy was out of you and you're like, I'm calmer, I'm this. So if you catch yourself in that moment, you can map those automatic, unchosen internal shifts. You follow your rule, your commandment. Do not make decisions, permanent decisions. Don't even interpret a situation while you're in dysregulation. Go and regulate. And then come back and go, okay, what could I not be seeing? Or how could I handle this in a way that gets a win-win outcome for everyone? And watch how differently your life opens up. If you want to take it further, then I'm happy to train anybody that would really like to take this further.
That was going to be my next question. By the way, thank you. The noticing practice is huge. I mean, just yesterday, if I would have just stopped, I'm gonna try this out, and I'm gonna stop and just every time I have this physical change in my body, which usually happens with inside my stomach, but I'll try that. This is awesome. And deep breathing, I love also in the morning because I find myself sometimes I'm awake, but I'm still in bed because my body's tired, but my mind is awake. So I will definitely give that a shot. Matthew,
why I'm asking you to breathe before I let you go?
Sure. So I'm sorry, what was the question?
You want to know why I'm asking you to breathe? Why I believe that was the best one?
Why is that?
Because the same section of your brain that governs your breathing governs your fight or flight response.
Ooh, you waited until the end to share that. This is how you tie it all in. Okay. So this is where the whole fight, flight, and freeze. This is how you
There's
regulate it is by
more
breath.
which is called fawn, which is I must get you to like me in order to feel safe or survive this. That's the fourth one. The fourth algorithm is called fawn, FAWN. I must get you to like me. And that's where we self abandon. That's where I stop being my authentic self and I present a version of myself to you that I think you'll enjoy.
Wow. Why did you leave this until the end? Like we could talk about this one specifically because this is probably the most important one, right? Because this is where most entrepreneurs like, well, I cannot dominate this. I'm not going to run away from this. There's nothing really, I'm not going to prepare for impact, so I might as well just get them to like me. And yeah, the
Well,
whole.
I've studied the greats and they say always leave them wanting more.
I love it. I love it. On that note, I love it. Fun. I'm so happy you shared that because that's 100%. I mean, that makes a lot of sense why we get to the point of this is not even me. This is not the way you can actually you can absorb you notice yourself like from the outside in, like who is this person that is me right now? It's not me. And just because okay, now it makes sense. Just because you cannot fight, you cannot flight, you cannot run away. You're not gonna freaking freeze because you're an entrepreneur. So you might as well just act in a certain way who's not you. Wow, that's another level to this. Matthew, go ahead.
You will never feel fulfilled when you self abandon.
No, you will never feel fulfilled if you fight, flight, freeze, or like you said, fawn. So I'm glad you mentioned this because now it all kind of ties in into my mind. So, Matthew, like I said, I would love to have you back on this podcast when you are in Medellin. We'll have you in our studio. You are an amazing, amazing human being. Something that I've never seen before in terms of the type of work that you do and the way that you do this. Even me doing this in my office right now. While I was breathing, I was still thinking about what my wife was going to think in the other room. Am I okay? But I get it. It's practice, it's training, it's conditioning. This is something that I've done for the first time. So I appreciate you running me and our listeners through this. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you? And what specific individual should reach out to you?
My main point of access is just on my personal Facebook page. Uh, and
We'll
I
put it
really
in the
only
show
use
notes.
Messenger. I'm not really on social media at all right now in this season of my life. So they can email me directly at matthewkoder@gmail.com, which is just mathewkoder@gmail.com. I'm kind of an old fashioned guy. I really believe in human to human connection. And so I appreciate real connection. This work can't happen without real connection. So I would say anybody that is really truly ready to be different, to do different, and to have different. But that sincerity, and I would say the readiness comes from you're probably likely in a bit of a life catastrophe. It doesn't have to be, of course. You don't have to wait to a catastrophe to do this. In fact, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So you don't have to wait to a catastrophe. It's just that sadly, most people wait until the ship is sinking before they do something about it. And I'm willing to work with people there. I love working with people that have the awareness to go, well, okay, I'm not in a catastrophe, but what could I do to really get ahead of this so that I don't experience something major in the future? It's kind of like being a physical therapist or working with like NFL players, they both have it's enjoyable for me to work with people at both levels. But I definitely know that a lot of founders are feeling the heat, especially with all of the changes that we've been having in the global economy, with the political climate, with the pandemic, with everything that's going on. I know a lot of people are facing some pretty heavy challenges. So they don't have to wait. I just think it really just needs to be sincerity. Like I really do need help and I'm ready to be open-minded enough to consider that there could be things that I don't know. And And if you're ready to be loved on, because my work really works in a big way, because I really love people. I mean, I really mean it. I really, truly love people. That's probably the secret sauce to my work, because I really will care for you. And it will feel awkward for people at first to be cared for by a stranger who they have never met before. And that in and of itself can trigger those responses. And they're not accustomed to feeling loved and being held to a standard where that love is expressed with care and mercy and compassion and sympathy and understanding, but is continuously saying, let's iterate, let's iterate, let's iterate, let's iterate. And that in and of itself can be a challenge. But if you're ready for something like that, you want to be called forth. Like if you were sitting in your mind and you're like, the better part of my potential, it's not there. I can feel it. There's more that I could give. There's more that I could be. There's more that I could have. And you've reached a ceiling, and you're like, I want to bust through that ceiling. Then I'm here to help.
I love it. We're gonna go ahead and put your contact information in the show notes. Matthew, thank you so much for being here. You are a very special individual. I'm gonna say that again with a big heart.
I'll
I would love
pray
to-
to the Lord. Really.
There you go. I love that. I cannot wait to have you back in Colombia, Medellin.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I want to come back. I want to be there in July. So anybody, maybe we can get that kicking and we can give some people some cool experiences.
If you're here in July, we'll definitely have you back in the site inside the studio. Have a blessed rest of the day. For those of you who are listening, connect, understand that you're not out there all by your own dealing with this emotional baggage. We're all on the same boat. Keep building.